how are you? This is Mary New Life Deaf. Hey, kindly welcome to my YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, share, and please drop a comment. Tell a friend to tell a friend to subscribe, and let's grow together. And when you subscribe, there is how you'll help me with this program also for the deaf. So thank you very much, and God bless you. I've been okay. It's been long since I did any video, but I've not been well. Yesterday I stayed in the house the whole day. I've been trying to come to work though. I've been trying to do everything normally. Yesterday I stayed in the house and my daughter was like touching me everywhere, jumping on my body. You know, she doesn't understand that mom is sick and I need to give her a break. And plus also the idling in the house for me, it's too much. So I just decided that let me come to house. And by the way, I'm feeling better today. When I was coming to work, I was feeling sick. And I almost went back to the house. But when I arrived to the office and after some time, I just started feeling better. I'm still sick though, but I'm feeling better. Not unlike when I was coming from home. That tells me that when you want to do something, please go ahead with the plans and try and do it. But when you're thinking about it, you will think and think and think and not make any step. But when you decide to do it, you will learn ways of doing it. You will find how to cope, and you will move forward rather than saying but not doing anything, not putting any action. Last night I went to church, but this is something that I want to share all of us, not only Christians. I've said I went to church, but not only for Christians. When I was doing theology, and there was something called spiritual maturity, where you don't look at other religions. You don't fight against them. You don't say that you are the only person that you are worshiping the right God and that you will go to heaven, but rather you look at other religions and how you can complement each other and come together. So I want us to see how we can come together, and. So anyway, that I was just telling you what we were taught in church yesterday, but what makes me to share it with all other religions is because of the aspect of the spiritual maturity, where we can be able to complement each other, not to compete against each other. So we were taught about the understanding the office of the prophet. The prophet in this matter was your spiritual father, not your spiritual mentor. The spiritual mentor is the one that maybe you can see them on the TV screen and you admire, but not about your spiritual father, your spiritual mother, who is with you in the church and knows you very well, not unlike those that you see on televisions. This is somebody who can guide you in the right path when you are wrong, but we don't always value them. So we were taught how we can understand the office of the prophet. This applies even to the Muslims, to the Hindus. If you really don't value, you should value your spiritual leader that is near you. Those ones that we admire on TV, it can even take you 2 years before you even see them, or even a lifetime. So we should value the spiritual fathers that are near us, and we can tap some grace from that. It applies for all religions. I think so. Am I right? I think so. And as the name of the platform suggests, New Life Mission Deaf Aid, as you are subscribing, I just wanted to talk on the challenges that I experience on working with the deaf people. There are a lot of challenges we can talk from today to tomorrow, the whole week. And I just want us to talk about a few, especially being that I'm sick. I don't want to talk a lot. So number one is learning difficulty. I am a teacher. I have specialized in deafness. I'm a special needs teacher. I used to be a classroom teacher. I stopped in 2019. I graduated in 2017 for that, but I stopped in 2019 because I wanted to be a prayer answer still. I wanted to work still in a way that touches the life of the people with disabilities, especially the deaf people. And that's why I work with this New Life Mission Deaf Aid. When I was a teacher, there were some challenges I was experiencing. By the way, I wish to go back to classroom because I really miss those days. But it's hard. Sometimes you can't multitask. So when I was in classroom those days, there was learning difficulties whereby you can teach like you can repeat something even for days. Majority of the children will still not understand. It does not apply to 100% all the deaf. No, no, all the children with disability. No, some of them are very sharp. You just say and they click. But my friend, for some, I think this is even with children who don't have disability. Some children who don't have disability also have learning difficulties. But for me, particularly, I worked with only the deaf children, but oh my God, it was hard. It was hard. You teach, you repeat until you are tired, and then you ask a question, then they tell you, "Have forgotten everything. Have forgotten everything." But it's very surprising because the rule says that you should clean the board when you're doing recap with the children. But sometimes you haven't even cleaned the board. Let's be honest. We don't do everything that we were taught as we were instructed in our learning institution, into the higher learning institutions of training. So maybe I've not cleaned the board, and those things are still there. Then you ask a question, and they're like, "I've forgotten everything." And you're like, "Can't you even read from the board?" My God, you've demonstrated, you've done, you've made the lesson as interesting as possible, because their concentration also matters. So you really need to make the lesson as interesting as possible, very involving, and then you ask, and then like, you're like, "I've done my best." But now ask a question. "I've forgotten everything." That tells you that the child has not forgotten, depending on how you did your lesson, how you involved the child in your lesson. It means that the child just did not understand, but they just can't tell you that I have not understood. You also they also sometimes they communicate differently to mean a different thing. So to forget means I haven't understood. So what I used to do is that, you see, your peers can explain to you something and you understand it better, unlike when somebody who is not your peer is trying to explain it for you. So I could say, because like I've told you, not all of them were like that. No, just some of them. So there were some few that would click very fast. There was a boy called Cornell. Oh, I love this boy. This boy was very sharp, by the way. He was very, very sharp. And even when we gave them exams with the children who don't have disability, he was very competitive. So I could call this, call him. I could call the people who could understand very fast, and then, "Can you please try and explain for them?" And like, they could understand a little bit, but still there is that problem. Again, you ask a question, but it's hard. So we also have something called IEP, that is Individualized Education Program, that helps you to help the learners with the learning difficulties to cope with these challenges, So yeah, but it's always very hard. That's why when I was going for this course, some teacher told me, don't go for this because of money, or rather because you will be employed very fast. Because generally in education in Kenya, when you study education in Kenya, and then you will be like, I will be absorbed very fast because these are marketable courses. So that person told me that do not go because you think you'll be employed very fast, or because of the salary. And yeah, that is right, because of the challenges that we really experience in the field of working with these people. It needs calling. Teaching is a calling, and we will be judged so harshly. I don't know why, God. And number two, the challenge that I face with the deaf, even with the deaf, and that this is EBD, emotional behavioral disorder. Like I remember when I was going for attachment, when I was now completing the university study. And like I've told you, they have learning difficulty. You will have to identify an IEP learner, because that is also a way of helping them with this learning difficulty thing, so that they can perform better academically. So I chose an IEP learner and I gave my IEP file. And when you're giving your IEP file, there has to be all the information that is needed. You have to draw the plan of how the children are seated. You have with the names, because they sit in like a horseshoe shape, and they're not very many in class, the children with deafness particularly. So it's easier for the lecturer to get where is the IEP learner. Then the lecturer will just, the eyes will be on the IEP learner and on you, and are you doing the right thing? You know, those moments that you can really feel tense. And it was a bad, cold morning, and it was rainy, and I went to a target in a very cold place. It's not hot like in Homa Bay where I work right now. Then now my IEP learner was called Nicolette. So now this one I'm trying to explain the point number number 2, the emotional behavioral disorder. So you know, now the lecturer has checked my file and has known the Nicolette, is the IEP learner of mine, is sitting there, and the eyes are on me and the eyes are on Nicolette, and are you doing the right thing? And then I just told Nicolette, she was sitting in a very bad posture, you know, because also the class control, the lecturer has to look at the class control, how you are able to make the learners focus, how you involve everything, you know, you understand. So I just told Nicolette, you know, because you can't even say that I shouted at the child, because if the lecturer is there, can you shout at a learner? So I told Nicolette, please sit well. Oh, you know, she cried for the next 40 minutes until the lesson ended. She cried! And I was like, when I'm trying to tap her like this, when the lecturer's eyes are bent down, and I'm trying to tap her like this to please stop crying, and she's like, the emotional behavioral disorder, you know, just tell them something's like that, they behave, they take it too far. So I just said like, you know what? This lecturer has studied this thing, and she has experience, a lot experience on this. I hope she will understand. So I just left her there. So she was, because first of all, if I want to give her all those concentration, she's going to distract the whole class. So I said, sometimes it's hard, it's hard. So I did my best, and when the lecturer called us for what for the overview, to correct us on how we should improve before the second lecturer comes. She never mentioned that happened with Nicola. So I just think that I handled it well. I don't know, because she saw it. She saw every work that I have been doing with her. She saw where she sits. It's very clear. But she never mentioned, because the child cried the whole lesson because I told her to sit well. That is an emotional behavioral disorder. Sometimes you might just ask a simple question. Why are you doing this? Why are you late to class? And you know, they just start with they just start behaving in a funny way. They're dragging it too far. You know, the emotional behavioral disorder. Sometimes someone just becomes so rude. You're trying to do this, you're trying to. It's very hard even to discipline them. It's not easy the way you think. But also the parents, I think, have contributed to this also, because the parents, they don't know how to. I don't know. They hold them so fragile like an egg, because her parent also complained that she told her daughter to wash plates at home. Then the daughter started fighting her, meaning that ever since this girl started growing up, she didn't coach her into these household chores. And now that she's a teenager, you want to, all of a sudden, you want to tell her to clean for you the dishes. How? So it's also very important when you have a special needs child, please ask for assistance. Don't be afraid to discipline them. Don't be afraid to teach them house chores, because they will grow into adults and they need to become independent. But if you just don't wake up one day after handling the child like an egg, slash the compound, do this, and you'll be handling them like an egg, you know. I'm not saying that you should be beating them. You should just be training them. So this gives us a lot of hectic work also with the children. And number three is that, like you will tell a deaf person, this is wrong, you should do this way. You're just trying to give an honest opinion. Then they will tell you that, you are oppressing me because I'm deaf. Oh my God. Sometimes it's hard to deal with these things. Sometimes, not all the times. Many a times it's very enjoyable, but when these 2% strike, you see it's something different. So, like, if this, even with the deaf adults, there's somebody, like when I was a teacher, there's somebody, a deaf teacher who is deaf, comes into the staff room with shoes full of mud. And then you tell them, why don't you even clean your shoes on the grass? For example, something that is as simple as that. Then they start telling you are oppressing me because I'm deaf. You are oppressing me because I'm deaf. But I also think this also comes with some insecurity. I remember one day we were eating, then some teachers, because they were talking, they were, they were talking, they were friends, they were ladies, then they were laughing. Then other teacher was eating, then he just stood up, very fused and very angry, said, you are doing this because I'm deaf. You're causing. I think it also comes with some insecurity, also being that they are disabled, and that's why we encourage a lot that try to use we want 100% usage of sign language in the deaf institution, so that they will not feel offended. They will not feel like you are talking about them, because imagine when people are sitting there and they start laughing and you don't know what they are talking about. You might feel insecure. So that also comes with that. But also, why they always see that they're hearing people are oppressing them. I think maybe the past time there was no much empowerment for the deaf and they lagged behind. And so it was the people who don't have disability that are leading them. Unlike now that there is nothing for the people with disability without them. But those are things that we really are fighting to correct, so that they feel involved, they feel that we are not oppressing them. We have also understood that we've moved from that barbaric culture, thinking that the deaf people, that the people with disabilities are caste, is something that all those barbaric thoughts and myths that we had. We've also understood that we are equal and they are able to differently, and we need to move together. For us to grow as a society, as a nation, we need to involve all the people with disability, because some of them are very clever, by the way, very, very wise. And even if you see now, there are people with disabilities that are working in very high positions, and they're doing very well, than me, than other people that don't have disability. So we are also trying to make them feel that we are equal. If you do something that is wrong, I'm just trying to correct you. I'm not oppressing you, and they might gang up against you for that. Yeah. So yeah, that is it. Another thing that this is not only to me but also to people. You see, somebody who is talking, even with the blind, the people who are talking especially, if you give them something, they will be like, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. By the way, the word thank you is also very magical, not sorry only. Like for me, if I give you 5 shillings and say thank you, I might give you 100 shillings. Thank you, the power of thank you. But for the deaf, like for me, I tell the people that we are working with that, you do the right thing before God. Know that you are serving God. You are serving people, and service to people is service to God. Know that you are serving God, because you might give a very big sacrifice. Like sometimes you can even sleep past midnight. You're trying to write a proposal so that these people, they might have some help. Then these things come, the distribution comes, the gifts comes, and then they're taking them like you should have given them a long time ago. You wasted time without even thinking, with a frowning face. So yeah, sometimes this can pull you back, and for me, yeah, if I just give something and you're not even smiling, So those are just the few challenges that we are facing. So please, this is again Mary New Life Mission Def 8. Kindly like, subscribe, share, comment. See you. God bless you. Bye bye. Until next time. I love you so much. Tell a friend to tell a friend.